Hello and welcome to another edition of Sales Tips. I am here with Scott Neufeld today from Diligent, and Scott is going to be talking about two excellent tactical tips for whether it's new salespeople or salespeople who have been in their profession for years. These are two great tips to help you become a little bit better. Scott, I know the first one you want to talk about was meeting summaries.
For sure, John. Yeah, one of the things that we find no matter how long you've been doing sales is things get busy and you have a great meeting, great conversations, but oftentimes it's you or maybe the prospect or person you're talking to has lost track of the follow-up actions, right? So how do we keep things going? So number one tool we give sales professionals to do or to use there is what's called a meeting summary. So it's just a pre-canned kind of summary from your meeting. It has like a basic generic from you personal introduction, but really short and snappy. So you jump to the bullet points of here's 2 or 3 things that was unique that we discussed. Here's the actions. Here's what I said I'm going to do, what you're going to do, and we're done, right? So when you craft these out, I always encourage people to get a couple of templates for themselves so that it's easy to do. Number one thing, it's got to be easy to do. If it's not easy, you or your team that you're trying to implement this with, they're not going to send them. 2, it's got to be short and snappy. Otherwise, the person you're sending them to isn't going to read them, or it's not going to hit their head. And number 3, you always want to make sure that you have it in a place you ask for them to confirm receipt, but also feedback. You've just created a partnership in your meeting with them, and you want them to be part of that. And as a salesperson, I find a lot of my team always felt like they owed the client something, but they owe you something as well too. And so you want to make sure that's in there. And it works great while you're on the road, or if you're doing remote meetings, have a pre-can, so do it right away. One of the number one excuses I always got is, oh, it takes too long to write. It takes you longer than 5-10 minutes, you're doing it wrong. And the other one is, oh, I just don't have time and I'm busy and on the road. I used to literally do it from my car. I'd go in back to my car before I drive to my next meeting, and I'd have like 5-10 meetings in a day. I just put in, connect to my phone, hit send, away you go. So if you do a little bit of prep work and template, you're good to go. And I can't count how many times I would randomly have folks get back to me and say, that was an awesome summary. Thanks, we'll talk to you later.
Oh, that's perfect. You know, it's you're right. It's a simple habit to get into, and it probably avoids going into the next meeting really doing the same thing you did at the last meeting. No one knows where to leave off from. Okay, perfect. You told me that we want to talk today a little bit about recording meetings and the importance of them.
Yeah, that's the Narga one too. So I guess back in the day we didn't have the technology we have nowadays, but if you can record your meetings, again, whether they're virtually or in person, it's an excellent tool for you to sharpen where you're already really good, to really hone in on some of the points you use, and also to identify what's resonating with your prospects or not, as well as when you're writing that meeting summary afterwards. There's a number of tools you can use. If you're doing online meetings, there's Gong and a number of really crazy tools that itemize search terms, so you can search, oh, when did they say this, and it brings up context. But if you're doing them locally, you can just have your iPad up there and audio note or Audible, a couple different ones that you can type in as you go, really records them so you can jump back to what they were saying, right? So as I mentioned, great tool because you always, ideally, if you can put a quote into your meeting summary, that's great, but also just for constant improvement. Every one of us could get better by listening back, and so sometimes you think, I delivered that really well, or I think that was a really good response to that. You listen to that section of your 3 or 4 different meetings you've had, and oh, well, if I listen carefully to how they're responding to that, maybe it's not having the impact I want it to, right? And or you can share it with your colleagues, get insights to how you deliver, how you listen, and we all know active listening is the biggest part. It's just the best tool we've found to just challenge yourself to get better a little bit every day.
Now, Scott, I know there's probably some sales managers that are out listening to this, and if you haven't been doing this with a team before, what's a way that you could implement it where it's not going to seem invasive and you're not going to have your sales force looking and wondering, am I under scrutiny? Can you frame it in a positive light if you were new into this and make that transition easier?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways.
Okay.
You can hit it right on the head, or you can be a little more subversive on it. I prefer to always hit on the head when I start with a new team. And I would just expose the fact, hey, look, we're all going to feel uncomfortable with it. Right? It's new. Like if you haven't been in the habit of recording pieces before, it's not going to feel natural. And so I would also start off by doing a couple calls and just putting them out there. So it wouldn't be scrutiny, but as a team, we would just throw a call out on the table that we talk about, and people can select their own of what they're doing well and what they're not, and away you go. Again, it does build trust quickly because you kind of put it out there that we're all going to be vulnerable together, and you're good to go. They don't have to log their. Typically, I don't make them log or save their recordings, but we have them submit them in terms of where they go. If you want to be a little more casual about it, it's kind of more of a one-on-one approach. It's just, and again, I would, in my weekly or bi-weekly one-on-ones with them, say, hey, look, here's a couple things I've heard other people do. Share some of your recordings if you'd like, and where you go. But remind them at the end of it, this is a tool for them, more so than anything else. We're not going in there to challenge how they said something, because we also know a large part of what makes sales folks successful is their unique personalities and how they deliver the message and add that flair to that. And I want to always reinforce that we're not trying to get rid of that. We actually want them to get better at that and know what really works for them. And when they hear people respond to their unique flair in those recordings, you usually will always see a smile on their face, right? And that's when you try and find those joy moments in those recordings. That was awesome. Did you hear what they did? Right? And it takes about a month, I would say, to get the habits going and people to feel comfortable being a little more vulnerable. But once you do it, you have a tighter team too.
Yeah. So this is not about Big Brother. This is all about becoming better at the profession that you're in.
Yeah. And also leaning on your peers, right? Being able to collaborate, be a big team instead of just a one-man army.
Wonderful. Well, Scott, thank you again. I'm sure this has helped the people that are viewing this. That's 2 excellent tactical sales tips, meeting summary, and recording meetings. We'll see you again next time. Thanks.
John.
Thank you, Scott.